I am a bit late to the party at this point, most Egyptians are, but Sunbreak has finally come to a close, and man, what a ride it was. Not that I'm done with it yet, I'm still perfecting my charge blade skills. It's getting there, but something I've noticed when it comes to Sunbreak specifically is how fine-tuned the monsters have become. Primordial Malzena was the final monster added to the roster, a major upgrade to the original. I mean, nothing unusual at first, just your average hunt.
Okay, this is too normal thus far. Something's gonna happen. What is happening? Wait. What? Wow, that looks cool.
And that right there is exactly what I want to talk about today. Sunbreak has continuously wowed me when it comes to both new and returning monsters, giving them unique phases, ultimate attacks, and deadly empowered states. Now, most mechanics I'll talk about today aren't new to the Monster Hunter franchise, but Sunbreak has amplified each aspect to a master ranking. It's become this appreciated pattern of constantly raising the bar with every single one of these encounters. Not only has Monster Hunter Sunbreak perfected their boss fights, I would argue this game has some of the best boss fights in gaming. I understand that's a pretty steep claim. I will explain myself, and in the end, it's just my opinion, so, I mean, whatever. So, let's get into it. Without further ado, my name is Josh, also known as Gorguinni, and I hope you enjoy. But first, we have a sponsor for today's video. Today's video is sponsored by TomTalk, and in celebration of their collaboration with Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak licensed by Capcom, they have sent me 3 of their new sling bags, each with an amazing design modeled after some of our favorite companions, including Steak. Let's take a look at the Palamute and Palico bags first. If we open up the middle here, there's tons of space to store your electrical devices, such as your chargers, power banks, notebooks, or even an iPad mini. Whatever you feel like storing in here, it can do it, because seriously, there is so much room in there. And with multiple pockets inside, you can organize your necessities for easy access. But that's not all. You have 2 quick access pockets both on the front and back to store your more important items like passports, phones, AirPods, or even chapstick, because that's important for me. The great thing about these pockets is that they're hidden quite well, so I can rest assured that my more valuable stuff is safely tucked away. It's lightweight and travel friendly, and as someone who's about to head to college, these sling bags will be much easier to carry around than a hefty backpack. If I don't have any classes but I still want to carry more than what my pockets can handle around campus, this is the perfect option. Not to mention these bags feature Duraflex buckles for quick removal, and the material is very soft with skin-friendly textures. Seriously, as the one holding the bag right now, I can assure you that the quality of TomTalk is top-notch. We also have my personal favorite, the Steak bag. Can we get a so tasty sound effect?
So tasty!
Thank you. Similar to the other bags, this one can store many items at your luxury. The amount of space for this bag is insane, and without any pockets inside taking up extra space, I'd recommend it for more bulkier objects like power banks, but you can still store any other common objects like your phone or keys. The bag features eco-friendly material as well, making it both light and flexible. However, if you arrive at home or if you don't want to travel for a while, you can remove the strap and simply put it on display. I know for a fact that this well-done steak will be sitting on my desk. I just love the way it looks. So, if you want to purchase your own bags, you can click the link in the description down below. And again, thanks to TomTalk for sponsoring today's video. Now, Monster Hunter in the past didn't always give every monster an empowered state or multiple phases. Not to say that the older games are bad, 3rd gen for life, but Sunbreak has made it the standard to give every monster one or all of these attributes, which is already a major improvement. I want to talk about how these ultimate attacks, empowered states, enraged states, and multiple phases in Sunbreak are a major advancement and how it makes the overall experience better. This happened because of one simple mechanic that has been perfected over the games. So before we tackle those attributes, it's important to go over the basics and what Sunbreak did to amplify said basics. Allow me to earn your subscription with these amazing skills. With the introduction of wire bugs, hunters are now much more versatile in the middle of combat. In previous games, getting hit by big attacks meant laying on the ground for hours at a time, wondering why nobody has liked the video yet. Now, I could get hit by nukes or emotional trauma, but with wire bugs, I can recover almost instantly. Now, this mitigates one of my main complaints with Monster Hunter's combat overall. Most monsters have these attacks that'll leave your character unplayable for a few seconds, which may seem trivial, I get it, but over the course of about a 15-minute hunt, that number adds up, okay? I understand getting hit by a dragon the size of a mountain may hurt, but those recovery animations are long enough to essentially pause the fight for me. I don't have to worry about that in Sunbreak. I can sling right back into the action or further away to heal up. Getting hit in Sunbreak does not limit myself to one option, rather quite a few. Not to mention, you can use wire bugs to effectively close the gap on monsters mid-hunt, performing basic maneuvers in the air or ground, or even use them to unleash powerful moves, counters, or enhancements. I always had an issue with the balance between actively fighting a monster and recovering from said monster. It feels like a chore to chase down a monster once you're done healing or sharpening. Every attack deals insane knockback that resets your position but from far away, meaning I have to get up, put my weapon away, heal, flex, maybe sharpen, and then slowly run towards the monster again just so I can get ragdolled. There is a distinct gap between the speed of a hunter and a monster, forcing me to chase it down more than actually hurt the dang thing, but this is not the case in Sunbreak. On top of extra mobility, Sunbreak has added many quality of life changes, such as the Palamute, which allows for both healing and sharpening while on the go. But it was Iceborne first to get rid of the flexing. My point here is that the wire bugs, this mobility increase, are the key factors of why Monster Hunter perfected their boss fights. So, why? Why is it that with greater mobility that monsters become better? Because we have more versatility, that gives plenty of room for the monsters to become more versatile themselves. When we improve, so do the monsters. In the older games, I could only run and jump if a ledge was present, so the monsters had to be limited in order to accommodate for our more grounded nature. Now, we have multiple monsters that float in the air constantly, or can even take the fight to a vertical fashion like Narwa. Ever since the players became more adept at carding with style, it's up to the monsters to counter these try-hard Charge Blade users, including me, through all these different mechanics. That's why the Enraged state, their multiple phases, or ultimate attacks are structured differently. And again, it's not that the previous games didn't have these mechanics. Iceborne monsters had plenty of these attributes. But due to the flexibility of Sunbreak, there are so many creative possibilities without a cap on it. Let me give you an example about, just give me a second. Okay, let's talk about ultimate attacks. Monster Hunter World Iceborne was the first game in the series to introduce these last resort anime levels of absurdity. Teostra's Nova and a couple other moves existed before, but I'm talking about Elatrion's Eschaton Judgment, Fatalis' Hellfire, and Safi'jiiva's Satfire of the Emperor. Sounds like a faction in Final Fantasy. All three of these ultimate attacks have one thing in common. Escape through your own means is impossible. Elatrion is all a DPS check. If you've met the threshold, you can easily out-heal it, which I guess is through your own means, but if you didn't meet it, then you just die. Both of Fatalis' attacks require the hunters to hide behind a tent or a gate. Safi'jiiva drops rocks from the ceiling to shield the player from the attack as well. Considering the hunters didn't have great mobility, Iceborne went in the complete opposite direction by providing cover from the monster's signature moves, and it was a great way to compensate for that. However, in Sunbreak, you can easily escape most signature attacks through wire bugs or even palamutes. One of the few ultimate moves you can escape is Amatsu, but even then, the way you avoid it is completely unique to this game, by flying into the air and hovering for as long as you can until Amatsu tires himself out. Now, yeah, Iceborne had other ultimate moves such as Savage Deviljho or Namiel, and they're amazing in their own right, don't get me wrong. Iceborne had more volume to their attacks, with less monsters having access to ultimates in the first place, while Sunbreak had more versatility and more monsters acquiring signature moves. And that's not to say that Sunbreak didn't have dangerous nukes of their own. Flaming Espinos is the first monster that comes to mind because seriously, I can't tell you how many people I played with died constantly to this one attack. The range of this attack is nuts, but not unfair. Wire bugs are your friends here, and you can easily escape it if you have the time to do so. The fact that these monsters can execute an attack that'll blow up the planet at any moment makes the hunts more tense. Sunbreak monsters just don't care. They'll drop the bomb at any point. It feels more natural that way. Attacks in general cover a larger radius, which adds to the spectacle of the fight, and I don't know about you, but I love that. I mean, half of Geismagorm's moveset are large explosions. Primordial Malzeno has a multi-laser beam that covers a wide radius. Actually, come to think of it, I've noticed that many monsters in Sunbreak cover a large horizontal region, encouraging the usage of wire bugs as a means to dodge. I can only imagine how annoying that would be in Iceborne, or especially 3 Ultimate. It would be impossible. Sunbreak allows for a bigger and better arsenal of attacks for the monsters to use, while also permitting new ways to take advantage of our tools. which includes the monsters as well. Magna Malo, for example, likes to launch hunters into the air for a Street Fighter combo, and the only way we can dodge it is with a wire bug. Now, I like to reach the fight quicker by using wire bugs, because I'm impatient, so I usually get caught in the crossfire. Not only has Sunbreak improved the overall pacing of a fight because of our mobility, but this also translates into the sheer creativity of both enraged states and multiple phases. For a good portion of monsters in the series, the enraged state is a poor concept of artificial difficulty. All they do is huff some smoke or the element of their choosing, do more damage, and they're faster. That's about it. You would have seen very few monsters with different traits or enhancements, like Brachydios from Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. However, Sunbreak features a wide variety of monsters with unique rage modes that go beyond one or two differences. I mean, take this monkey for example. He is so angry that he rips out wet moss and molten rocks from the same place somehow. While enraged, Grand Golem's original moveset is augmented with both water and fire explosions. He gains a few new attacks, my personal favorite being the rocket jump. He's also one of the rare ones to have a unique feature known as the secondary enraged state. During his final hours, Grand Golem will not only cover his arms again, but his face. In this form, he can emit large explosions of steam that will eradicate anything in his vicinity. Trust me, my first time fighting this dude, I died in one hit to one of these explosions. It's no joke. But you see how Grand Golem features a lengthy list of new attributes once he's enraged? It makes the fight fun, adds some variety, almost as if this is where the real hunt begins. And I want to make something clear, I don't want to attribute all these differences just because we have better mobility. Sometimes the developers are learning from their past mistakes or what they can do to improve. So based on their experience, they're just making the fights better too. Funny enough, all of the three lords do a great job of representing how Sunbreak tackles this aspect of their monsters. Lunagaron will slowly gain more ice on his body until he decides to prove evolution is real mid-fight, now standing on two legs. This phase has a completely new moveset with insanely powerful attacks, and you know they're powerful when the screen zooms out. Malzeno, one of my favorite monsters right now, will just teleport because I guess he can do that when he's angry enough, and also some new attacks, but teleportation? Dude, I had no idea that we would reach this level of absurdity. Again, think about his teleportation in previous games and how ridiculous that would be. All three of these monsters have great enraged states, but what makes them masterful is the fact that they're unique to each other. Grand Golem enhances his moveset, Lunagaron ditches it entirely, Malzeno doesn't really add too much to his moveset, but combined with his teleportation, it's a deadly combo. While the enraged state has improved drastically, Sunbreak decided to give the tougher monsters a different luxury: multiple phases or empowered states. Now this can happen in two different ways. Either the monster powers up over time, entering an elevated state periodically, or they stay powered up until they die after you deal enough damage with your crappy mix set. I adore Lucen Nargacuga. He is perhaps one of my favorite fights in the whole series at the moment. One of the reasons is because as you start to deal more damage, Lucen Nargacuga will incorporate invisibility into more of his attacks. Take the Beyblade for example. At first, no invisibility. Then later on, as he backs up, he'll disappear, making the attack that much more dangerous. And that's just one example, by the way. At a certain point, he'll begin to flare up his tail with poisonous spikes as well. With a fully armed tail, Lucen's tail slams will spread spikes across the entire arena. He can also perform insane new tail attacks that rain down spikes from above in a variety of patterns, depending on your positioning. Let me not forget to mention his ultimate, which is essentially an overly eager assassination attempt. He'll bounce around the arena while invisible, until he jumps into the air and slams his tail onto a selected target. I love the progression of this fight. Lucen Nargacuga doesn't sway between a regular and enraged state like other monsters. I mean, he does get angry, but there's not really key differences there. He has other mechanics that are activated once a certain threshold is met that he can access whether he's angry or not. Lucen is more subtle about his different phases. He doesn't roar or anything like that. He's like the shy kid, but I love him so much. I had to talk about him, at least for a little bit. So let's not beat around the George Bush here. Let's bring out the big boys. Risen Elder Dragons are the best example I can give to you about periodic phases in Sunbreak. Risen monsters are monsters that have overcome the affliction, forming a symbiosis with the parasite Kuro. whatever it's called. You'll find normal monsters that suffer from the affliction have more health and deal more damage, but nothing in comparison to the risen monsters. Mid-hunt, these dragons will enter a risen state, accessing a whole new assortments of powers, enhancements, and mix-ups according to their fighting style. I would like to jingle the keys in this direction towards Risen Shigaru Magala, my favorite of the bunch. His neutral state parallels regular Shigaru when he's near death, meaning he can shoot beams of frenzy and cause after effect explosions whenever he feels like it. The real danger comes in when he enters his risen form. In this phase, explosions are happening constantly, and they're much bigger, with every single attack he does. Risen Shigaru will also gain this new ultimate attack that spawns multiple pillars of frenzy which will migrate towards one concentrated point until it explodes. It's like a net being casted to trap hunters so they can't escape. It's actually quite clever. In this phase, Risen Shigaru has enhanced movement, augments a good portion of his attacks, gains new moves, and an ultimate attack, and you'll find this to be true for the other Risen Elder Dragons. Now, I want you to think back to the other games. What do they provide when it comes to these empowered states? 4 Ultimate had Apex monsters, which didn't really change much, except they had more health, did more damage, and the only way to harm them is by using special buffs to penetrate their hide. Iceborne had tempered and arc-tempered monsters, which again were simply buffed up versions of the original monster without any real differences. Sunbreak's risen monsters are a major upgrade from any previous endgame challenges because they were significantly different from the original variants. Think of this as a juiced up version of the enraged mode. It happens less over the course of the hunt, but the intensity more than makes up for that. Phases like this constantly change the tension. Thankfully, when you deal enough damage, they'll revert back to their original form. It's really these guys you want to watch out for. Now, these monsters have different phases that escalate as the fight continues. The difference here is that once they enter that phase, they won't revert back. The hunt is now more difficult for the rest of the fight until you kill it. There are many monsters I could talk about here, and I mean a lot of them, but the one I really want to talk about is Amatsu. They did my boy justice in this game. He is absolutely one of my favorite fights ever. In previous games, he had 2 phases, and the same here rings true. But the differences are catastrophic. The first phase is what you expect, okay? Amatsu is the embodiment of a hurricane, so he uses water and wind-based attacks to surround players in a storm they can't easily avoid. Wire bugs are essential to avoid certain attacks like this wind circle that expands. You either gotta jump over it or move away entirely. He'll summon tornadoes that'll cover the entire area, or wind tunnels that you have to avoid by being at the center. A neat parallel to real storms where the eye is the most calm. Now, these are your standard Amatsu mechanics. You'd expect this when going to the fight for the first time. That's why I was pleasantly surprised when he entered the second phase and started to summon lightning strikes. Amatsu and Sunbreak can control 3 different elements: water, wind, and lightning in the second phase. Now, many monsters when entering a new phase or empowered state improve upon what they're already given, but Amatsu completely surprises the player by adding in a new element entirely. Amatsu can use lightning as a distraction before charging at his selected target. He'll summon spinning blades of pure lightning that'll track hunters down. He can even summon a multitude of lightning strikes in a selected circumference that would be impossible to dodge in any other game besides Sunbreak. I wanted to use Amatsu as a reminder of just how far we've come in the franchise. The speed at which Amatsu executes his attacks, his range, and the amount of distance his moveset can cover are unreal. Again, you could not fight this Amatsu in earlier games, maybe Iceborne, but his speed is a bit more unrealistic in that game. It's because of Sunbreak's advancements that fights like this are not only possible, but some of the best you'll experience in gaming. With that, I've pretty much said what I wanted to say about the subject. Sunbreak did a phenomenal job on improving the fights both visually and mechanically. With wire bugs, our mobility has increased, but the monsters did too, so we can still have a fair fight. Monsters now more than ever have unique rage modes, empowered states, multiple phases, and the structure of those attributes are vastly superior from the previous games because of our own gameplay improvements. I hope that Monster Hunter 6 will at least keep some of these advancements Sunbreak had, and if you want to post your own thoughts on the subject, feel free to do so. But for now, I have some college stuff that I need to worry about, and I'll make an update video about that very shortly. So, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and of course, stay safe.